Sorry for calling you old, but yeah, absolutely true. How many of you have heard of this whole idea of merchant navy? सुना है आप लोगों ने?
किसको ज्वाइन करना है? बहुत अच्छा करिए।
बहुत पैसा है, बहुत पैसा है। कुछ है नहीं हो, बहुत पैसा है। I must tell everybody and there's a lot of money. But have you heard of what is merchant navy? What is a merchant? बताओ कोई? Sailing and what doing what? Absolutely right. So you are sailing half your life. Actually, 3/4 of your life. All your life, 90% of your time.
Only 45 years.
Only 45 years of your life is saving and saving and saving. You're earning so much money, then. So yeah, the jokes apart. So Beetashok has been in high seas for most of his life, and he knows ships like any man's business. It is सब पता है. चलता कैसे काम क्या होता है, क्या खराब हो सकता है, so on and so forth. So what he has done is, इन्होंने जितनी non-war ship disasters, non-war very important, civilian cases में जब disasters हुए थे, क्या disasters थे, कब हुए, क्यों हुए, right from Titanic till the most recent one, he's analyzed them and has come up with a beautiful narration on what went wrong.
So क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, कब हुआ, और would they have been averted? That was the main. That's where I put my speech.
Okay, and that's what we will discuss today, starting with the most famous ship, which is Titanic. I'm sure all of you heard of Titanic.
Yes.
Movie भी देखा है?
Yes.
आप देखा है पहले देख लिया था? कैसे देख लिया था पहले? तो तलाक में है तो लोग देखने के लिए उसमें को लेकिन समझ में लड़ाई होगी कब देखा था? Okay, jokes apart. So starting with the first question, Beetashok. What went wrong with Titanic? क्या हुआ क्या?
Titanic. It is, for those of you who have not seen the film, Titanic, as you know, in 1912, was a big, brand new passenger ship, and it sank on its maiden voyage. And when it sank, 1,500 passengers lost their lives. So it became a very, very big issue. And because of that incident, there were new maritime laws enacted which made shipping, the world of shipping, a safer place. So Titanic में क्या हुआ? Number one, ये जहाज UK से निकला और heading for New York. So near Canada, after most of the voyage was over, near at full speed, क्योंकि उनका भी schedule होता है, they have to make their deadlines, passenger service and just like airline service. So off Canada, they were proceeding at full speed at 22 knots, which is like 41 kilometers an hour, which is, believe me, very, very fast for a ship. 22 knots going at full speed in ice-infested waters. मतलब आसपास बड़े-बड़े icebergs हैं, ठीक है? और that is number one. Going at a very high speed in dangerous water. Number two, ये navigational warnings आ रही थी दूसरे जहाजों से कि भाई there is be careful, navigate with caution. This is lot of icebergs. Please try to avoid them. तो वो कप्तान जो थे बहुत सीनियर कप्तान थे, कैप्टन स्मिथ. तो उन्होंने कोई एक भी मैसेज नहीं पढ़ा. वो he was busy entertaining his guests in the 10-course dinner in the dining hall. So the messages were piling up. He had given standing instruction to the radio operators कि कोई important message हो, please inform me as soon as possible. Well, that did not happen. The other thing is the captain himself, as well as the naval architects, the designers who designed the ship in Belfast, Ireland, they genuinely believed that the ship was unsinkable because they thought it was state of the art. So we know what happened. Or all the problems with the lifeboat capacity was not enough, not even for half the number of passengers. But that was as per the rules and regulations at that time. So they were not wrong in that sense, but the regulation itself was wrong. And lastly, the emergency response. Emergency response was very poor. The crew was not trained to properly handle a disaster of this magnitude. जब जहाज डूबने लगा and the water kept rushing in, and the ship was like this and then went down like this. ठीक है, आपने picture देखा होगा. It went down like this, so there was panic. So the crew did not help the passengers. So third class में थे, down below, below decks, they were all trapped. उनका दरवाजा भी बंद कर दिया था. So all these things, so many mistakes were made. So the Titanic, what I'm trying to say is the Titanic could have easily been avoided, but for human folly, human error. Number one, what are the errors? What were we? Number one was hubris. Hubris मतलब excessive pride. They thought, अरे जहाज नहीं डूब सकता. No way. Naval architect thought जहाज नहीं डूब सकता. Captain thought जहाज नहीं डूब सकता. यदि भी iceberg के साथ टक्कर लग जाए, वही डूब पाएगा. Number two, excessive speed. That is overconfidence, negligence. अभी आप चांदनी चौक में ड्राइव करोगे, यहाँ का crowded एरिया में रेलवे स्टेशन के पास आप ड्राइव करोगे at 60 or 70 kilometers per hour, तो क्या होगा? The same thing happened over there. Icebergs were there, and they did not heed any navigational laws. Okay? So that is negligence, hubris, overconfidence. I would say incompetence also. So Titanic accident could easily have been avoided. So many lives could have been saved if all these human error, all these human follies, all these human foibles that we have were not there. If people did their job properly, people were not overconfident.
That's wonderful. There's also a point. काफी लोग कहते हैं कि जो steel use हुआ था उस जहाज में, that was questionable. That's true? Is that possible?
It's possible. I can't go into full detail, but this book is giving all the reasons, big and small. I'll give you the big reasons. The small reasons are also there. As Dipankar said, the steel rivets, all the steel plating, they were all riveted. So in ice conditions, riveting आजकल तो पूरा welding होता है, absolutely. तो those time it was like जैसे कील ठोकना. एक steel plate पे दूसरा कील ठोक के उन्होंने जहाज बनाया था. They thought that time it was state of the art, but obviously it was not. So in the cold, the rivets probably shrunk and the flames popped. So that was also a cause, and there were very small causes also.
Absolutely, which are there in the book, by the way. So that's a very important and interesting story that you told us about Titanic. Moving on, how many of you remember MH370? Yes, what was MH370?
It was the Malaysian Airlines that went missing in 2014.
Absolutely. What happened to it?
There were reports that it crashed in the ocean or something. I don't remember exactly. I read about it a long time back. But yeah.
Anybody else remember the MH370? Can you believe in our modern times a full aircraft disappeared from the face of Earth? Disappeared. Nobody till date has found where the aircraft went. And what I'm talking about is that a few decades ago, a ship, an Indian ship, disappeared from the face of Earth. None of us know about it because किसी ने कहानी दबा दी. Beetashok. बताइए कौन सा ship और क्या हुआ था?
The young lady is absolutely right that the plane just disappeared into thin air and nobody ever came to know what happened to it. A similar incident occurred on a ship, but most of you, I think all of you, would not have heard of it because the matter was hushed up. This happened in 1979. Okay, Indian ship, Indian crew, and the ship was called Kerala, owned by the Kerala Shipping Corporation, government company, and the ship sailed from Goa on her way to Rostock. This was in, I think, July 1979. And 2-3 days, the route kya hota hai? Route is from Goa, you sail towards Aden, Red Sea से Suez Canal से Mediterranean, फिर ऊपर जाता है जहाज Germany के लिए. तो in the Arabian Sea itself, after 2-3 days, she disappeared into thin air, and nobody heard of the ship ever again. And the 50 crew members, Indian crew members, they were never seen or heard again. So that mystery is still unsolved. And there was, of course, at that time there was a lot of hue and cry. Obviously, the relatives of the crew, they said, what is going on? We want answers. But there were a lot of conspiracy theories. कि जहाज डूब गया, पर यदि जहाज डूब जाता तो where is the wreckage? अभी जहाज कोई डूबता है तो क्या होता है कि when it goes to the bottom of the sea, तो water pressure से the tanks rupture. You see the hull of the ship ruptures. तेल निकल आएगा. जहाज का जो fuel है वो तेल सब पानी में आ जाएगा. और जो हल्की हल्की चीजें हैं जहाज पे, like ropes and all that, सब कुछ आएगा. कुछ ना कुछ debris तो आएगा ही. लेकिन nothing was found. Those helicopter search was done there. Naval ship search was there, but not a single piece of debris could be found. So it did not sink. Otherwise, what else could have happened to it? Maybe kidnapped by pirates. But how come you have back? The pirates did not ask for any ransom. Pirate क्यों अपनी जहाज को hijack करेगा? उनको तो ransom चाहिए, उनको पैसा चाहिए. Nobody was approached for a ransom. Nobody said, well, our ship is with us. Now you give us $1 million or whatever, and we will release the ship. There was nothing from that side. None of the crew members even contacted their family members. उसके बाद कि भाई मैं यहाँ हूँ, don't worry, I'll come back. Nothing of that sort. There was a movie being made called Kerala, the name of the ship. The movie Kerala was being made also around recently. However, that movie never got made. A search was organized. Finally, the government of Kerala, they tried their best to hush it up. The bureaucrats and the politicians, why we are not sure. But you have to read this book because a lot of information is there. Whatever it was, they tried their best to hush it up, and no official search investigation was ever conducted to find out about the ship. So 1979 की बात है. बाद में it again, when 2012 में भी the matter again came up because somebody blogged about it, and that's when I read the blogs and I got the information. Because otherwise there is no information available on the net. So the mystery remains.
Do you think it's scary and interesting? It is. Things disappearing from the face of earth. If you go and research about this ship and MS-370, you will see lots of conspiracy theories, including a whole idea of hypnotherapy. So there are people actually who think that there were crows who come and done this thing. So, yeah.
A lot of conspiracy theories.
Absolutely. And talking about ghost, Beetashok, you heard about this whole concept of ghost ships, right? What are ghost ships? होते क्या हैं ये चीज़?
Ghost ships. मेरी पहली कहानी जो है, it's not a कहानी actually, it's a fact. It's about a ghost ship. It is called the Mary Celeste. इस जहाज पे बहुत पिक्चरें बनी हैं, plays, radio plays, नाटक वाटक सब बना है उनके, and it came as a TV series also. The Mary Celeste ये 1872 की बात है, 1810 तो काफी पहले, but the mystery still remains. ऐसा है, Atlantic Ocean near the Azores Islands, which are belong to Portugal. Off the Azores Islands, one sailing ship was found deserted. Another ship came up and found the ship just floating, approaching, drifting towards their own ship. तो यहाँ का इस जहाज का जो कप्तान था वो पूछा भाई ये क्या हो रहा है? उन्होंने एक सिग्नल किया तो कोई जवाब नहीं वहाँ से. So they lowered the lifeboat and they rowed across to the other ship. When they boarded the ship, two officers boarded the other ship. They found the ship absolutely deserted. The ship was in good condition. Provisions in the galley were adequate for the next couple of months. The cabins, etc., were all in good order. There was no damage. There was cargo. They were carrying barrels of industrial alcohol. So that also was kind of intact. Little bit of damage. So where were the crew? Nobody knows. Again, lots of conspiracy theories were made. And people were saying, these aliens have abducted. This is proper journalists, proper people with scientific mind, they were saying maybe aliens have abducted people. Maybe in the Bermuda Triangle, the ship has just disappeared, like other ships. Or maybe some water spout has come, some ocean currents have taken it away. Whatever it is, it was not. So that ship was found, it had about 12 crew when it sailed from New York. But when it was found, there was 0. So that is another mystery which has not been solved, and it's a very famous mystery. Maybe we don't know about it in our part of the world, but in the US and the UK, it's a very, very famous tale. The story of the Lady Celeste.
You mentioned Bermuda Triangle. How can we not talk about it? So you, as a sailor, have sailed through Bermuda Triangle. Is that correct?
Yes, many times.
Were you kidnapped by aliens?
No, I'm still here. No.
So, what do you think is the story of Bermuda Triangle?
See, it's a triangle. It's a very large triangle in the Atlantic Ocean between Bermuda, Miami, and Puerto Rico. Okay? It's called the Bermuda Triangle. What has happened, and people still, again, they don't know why, is that ships and even planes have disappeared when flying or sailing through that area. I have done it many times, and fortunately, nothing happened to me. But this was mainly in the 60s and 70s. Of late, I haven't heard any cases of Bermuda Triangle where ships disappear. Again, a lot of theories were there. Ocean currents are sucking the thing down, or water spouts are taking the ship up and sinking the ship, or the lost city of Atlantis, lost continent of Atlantis is below the water, and they are calling you the other way. Please join us. And then, or magnetic field, your compass goes haywire. There's a strong magnetic field which affects your compass, so the ship deviates and crashes somewhere. But nobody has been able to prove or exactly pinpoint why ships and planes disappear in the Bermuda Triangle. And the mystery is still there. Fortunately, आजकल इतना नहीं हुआ, so people have forgotten about it. But as like Dipankar pointed out, it's still people are familiar with that term, Bermuda Triangle, because a lot of mysteries took place there, and we don't know what happened.
Moving on from mysteries to some other little more sad disasters. I'm sure none of you know, but there was a very big ferry disaster in South Korea. And it is very unfortunate because a lot of children died. Beetashok, tell us something about that.
Okay, you are referring to a very recent, comparatively recent disaster which took place in 2014 in South Korea. This was a passenger ferry, Seoul. And I remember during that time, of course I was sailing, but my family told me कि हमारे news में भी आ गया था, हमारे daily news, TV news पे भी आ गया था. Seoul was big news for several days, even in India, mainly because apart from the 300 odd people who drowned to their deaths, there were 250 school children. And why did they die? It was absolutely negligence. I would call it genocide. But it was such apathy from the senior people who they looked up to. Let me tell you what happened. Seoul was a passenger ferry running regularly inter-island, kind of, between the port of Incheon on the west coast of South Korea to an island called Jeju Island, which is a tourist port. Okay? So they were doing about 2 trips a week. So the ship's crew, the officers, everyone was very familiar with the route. And there should have been no problem. Anyway, on one of the voyages, very nice day, very nice weather, the ship sailed from Incheon, as usual, carrying about 300 school children. They wanted to, why were they on board? They wanted to have an overnight picnic on Jeju Island, which was very lovely at that time of year. I think it was April or something, spring. So they were all excited about their overnight picnic. So 9 in the morning, that ship had to pass. It was part of the route. It passed between a channel called Manmade Channel or something, between 2 islands, where the 3rd officer, who was on navigational watch at that time, I'm sorry, it was a she, but it could have been a he also. But what she did was, she gave a very hard turn to the right hand side, which is called the starboard side. Why did she do that? We don't know, because she did not survive. So we could not ask her anything. The ship turned very fast. The ship was going at full speed of 18 knots. Turned very fast. तो इतना मतलब इतनी तेजी से कोई टर्न करेगा तो जहाज टिल्ट हो जाएगा. अब जहाज जब टिल्ट हो गया तो what happened? There was some loose cargo. The ship carried cargo as well, even some cars, even some general cargo, boxes, crates, etc. That was not tied up properly, not secured properly. That all shifted to one side. And when the cargo shifted, it tilted even more. And in 3-4 minutes, the ship was lying on its side. So you can imagine what the passenger must have felt. अभी अच्छा खासा breakfast किया उन्होंने, अभी cabin में बैठे हुए हैं, गपशप कर रहे हैं, and suddenly the ship has tilted, and your floor has become the wall, and your ceiling has become the floor. Imagine us, and then the lights go out, pitch black. Obviously, the generators will not will fail because there's no lubrication for the generator. So that's what happened. The ship capsized and stopped and started sinking. अच्छा, कप्तान को तब याद आया कि भाई कुछ हो रहा है, कुछ गड़बड़ है. He went up on the bridge where the ship is navigated from, and he made an announcement to all: please remain in your cabins till further instructions. Do not get out of your cabin. Please remain in your cabins. You will be informed later of rescue operations. Now these children, they are used to obeying orders. They are used to obeying authority. So they thought, अच्छा भाई, कप्तान बोल रहा है, ship's officers are saying, so they will rescue us and we should stay in our cabins. So they huddled in groups in the cabins, okay, and waited for rescue. That never came. And the Coast Guard, by then the distress message had been sent. Unfortunately, it was close to shore. पहले तो fishing boats आए, एक दो, because they saw ship capsized. Some students, they decided to disobey the order. They said, this cannot be the correct instruction. And they went up on the deck. Deck is also like this. They went up as high as they could, and then they jumped into the water. Ironically, only those students who disobeyed the orders survived. They swam to the boats, and the boats picked them up. Now, I am not suggesting to the students here that you must disobey to survive. Don't do that. But in that case, this is an exceptional case, I guess. Okay. The other obedient children, none of them survived. Acha. Uske baad, guess who was the next person? Who was the first person to jump after that? Yes. Captain. Absolutely. Without revoking his order, without saying, okay, revoke, abandon ship. This is an order, anything. Without telling them to get out of the cabins and get out from deck and jump, he was the first to jump. Plus his officers. And they swam to the nearest Coast Guard boat. By that time, Coast Guard had come and they, Captain utar gaya. And the ship started sinking. At 9 o'clock morning, the accident occurred. By afternoon, by 1 o'clock, the ship was अच्छा. Media ने क्या किया? Media ने उस वक्त TV में announce किया, all have been rescued. Which was absolute false, absolute rubbish. So, media also played its part. Media hired helicopters, but not to intensify the rescue operations, but to film this for their 24/7 channels. कभी देखो क्या हो रहा है, देखो must good, the field must be good. What did the president of the country of South Africa? Sorry, she was a lady also at that time. I'm not meaning anything. President Park, she got up in the morning. She came to know कि एक जहाज बहुत दुर्घटना हुई है, एक हादसा हुआ है, and we must do something. But she didn't care. She got her hair done first. Then she met with a godman who she liked very much. There was a long meeting. She attended to this. There was an emergency meeting about the ship by which the ship had sunk. She attended the meeting at 5 p.m. and then she played it down to the media. She said, "Oh, this is just a ferry incident." So total apathy. The ship went down with 300-400 people drowned. Uske baad divers, when they went down for the next 3 months, divers were going down to retrieve the bodies. And before before their telephone, the battery went out, before they sang, all the children were texting their parents, I love you mom, I love you dad, ऐसे कर करके. तो वो messages तो आते थे, लेकिन they could not be saved. And the divers, when they went down for the next 3 months, all they saw was children hugging each other in the various cabins, waiting for a rescue that never came. So that was the tragedy of the Sea World. And of course, the captain got life in prison, and most of the officers got arrested. So, and it was a long inquiry, but it was a very tragic incident.
The president, what happened to her?
The president lost the next election as expected, and that ended her political career.
Moving on from this, tell us something about Mont Blanc. This is another ship that had a very, very tragic, and a very interesting story at that. And for a long time, that ship remained the cause for one of the largest explosions in that part of the world. सबसे बड़ा धमाका. Beetashok, what was it?
Okay. 1970, World War I, First World War between again Germany and the Allies, Europe and the US. This plane took place in Halifax, Canada. Okay? Mont Blanc was a French ship which had come to Halifax to be part of a convoy. उन दिनों में क्या होता था कि ships carrying supplies to the UK, English and French troops, etc., were all departing from the US in a convoy, protected by the UK Navy, so that they could reach the mainland of Europe in time, because German U-boats and submarines were attacking them midway. So the Mont Blanc came, she was laden with explosives. Okay? So she came only to stop, anchor, and wait with other ships so that all could depart together. So Mont Blanc came in one evening in December 1917, and she was asked to come inside to the inner anchorage and wait for the convoy. Okay. So morning, a pilot came on board. Pilots, you must be knowing that marine pilots are those qualified personnel who work only in the port, who take the ships in and take the ships out, because they are very familiar with the area. They are ex-captains generally. They have all been seafarers before, but they have taken a shore job. So now they are piloting ships in and out. So marine pilot came on board, and the ship heaved anchor and the ship went in. This ship is going north. At the same time, another ship called the Imo was picked up anchor again with a pilot, and she started heading south. She was heading out of the harbor. Mont Blanc was heading into the harbor. They were going to pass a very narrow strait called the Narrows. On the left side, on the western side, is the town of Halifax, and other side is some Durham or something, but both are well-populated towns. Okay. Now, अभी हमारे basic navigation में है, you keep to the right. जैसे in India, when you are driving on the road, you keep to the left, let pass others on your right. But in US and UK, when you not UK, Europe and US, when you are driving, you keep to the right and you pass others on the left. तो जहाजों में भी at sea, you generally keep to the right and you pass each other on your left side. मतलब कहते हैं port to port. So generally that was the thing. So the Mont Blanc was coming up, the Imo was coming down. But the Imo, trying to avoid other ships, came into the wrong lane and was coming directly at Mont Blanc. Now remember, Mont Blanc carried explosives. Okay? So Mont Blanc ने उसको देखा, pilot ने उसको देखा, but just very late. He saw it from 1 mile away. He started going. Now, when you are driving on the road and you see a car coming in the opposite direction, what do? You start horning first. What the hell are you doing? Achha. And if that guy tells you, he starts horning also, and you tell him, "Hut, the hills and many kya." So I telling you, such a ridiculous situation happened there. That pilot of the Imo coming down refused to give way to this upcoming ship which was carrying explosives, and the time they realized that a collision was imminent, it was too late. So there was a collision, and all the explosions, all the explosives, etc. exploded. Now that explosion, it is called the Halifax explosion. That was the greatest man-made explosion in history. Till Hiroshima. Till Hiroshima 1945, Second World War में जो atom bomb फटा जापान में. Till then, this was the greatest explosion in man-made explosion in history. Why? Because they did not want to keep out of the way. They were saying this is my right of way, that idiot is saying this is my right of way. That immediately 12,000 people died. Immediately. And houses were razed, and the explosion, even the debris of the bomb ground, it went 3-4 kilometers far away. अभी भी आप जाओगे वहाँ, some monuments are there. Part of the cannon, थोड़ा जहाज का anchor, सब वहाँ they have become shrines, you know, with the plaque कि this was the wreck of the bomb. 3-4 kilometers away. Imagine the extent of the explosion that took place. All because they did not want to give way to each other. It was a matter of pride or ego or just stupidity. Now tell me, is it stupidity or ego? Both, right?
And there are many more stories like that in this book. He's captured 30 of the stories. And we should thank you for detailing them out so much. There's a lot more detail in the book. And we're almost towards the end of the session. Before we close this, any questions, कोई सवाल?
Sir, as you said, the captain was German and you said, so I think as per the law, captain is supposed to stay till the end.
Yes, you are absolutely right, sir.
Till the end and such.
It's the captain's duty. He should make sure all his crew and his passengers are safe before he comes into the lifeboat. जैसे कि टाइटैनिक का कैप्टन ने क्या किया? He realized that he went down to the ship. He did not go into the lifeboat. Women and children went first. Some men, some older men, injured, weak people went. The captain stayed to the ship because he thought he took the responsibility. He took the guilt. ये मेरी गलती है. मैंने
That's why the captain was given life imprisonment.
Yes, this man was
given
given.
crime. It is a crime he has committed.
Absolutely. That's why he was given life imprisonment.
Even if it doesn't admit, I mean, the inquiry found out that he was totally at fault.
Ajay.
Yeah, in today's day and age, how do you explain what happened in Suez Canal? I mean,
That was-
error can
it
bring
was
the entire world to a halt.
Let's explain first, Sapkoti, what is the Suez Canal incident? How many of you know the Suez Canal? How many people know Suez Canal? तुमको पता है Suez Canal? Suez Canal is one of the navigational wonders of the modern world. क्यों? पहले जब यूरोप से इंडिया लोग शिप से आया करते थे, they would have to travel all the way down to Africa, cross Africa, and then come up to India, right? और for all South Asian countries also they would do the same. Europe से नीचे Africa से cross करके आते. But sometimes somebody had this brilliant idea between Egypt and Middle East. There's a very very narrow patch. और अगर उसको खोल के canal बना दे, तो Mediterranean Sea and your Red Sea gets connected, and a hugely short path is opening up between Europe and Asia. That's Suez Canal for all of you.
That's
Okay.
great. And
And it's a very narrow path जहाँ पे ships को सीधे लाइन में जाना पड़ता है. It's a very very narrow path. Okay. Couple of years ago, what happened is एक जहाज तिरछा होके अटक गया. Okay.
yeah, बताओ?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the container ship called the Ever Given, and it got stuck in the Suez Canal, and world trade stopped for 1 week. Why did it happen? It was purely technical error. क्या है कि Suez Canal is navigated only by pilots. So there was a very strong wind at that time, and the ship was full of containers. अभी containers पता है सबको? हाँ. The ship was full of containers. So the containers themselves acted like a sail. तो हवा जब बहुत जोर से आ रही थी, suddenly gusts of wind, तो जहाज, it was like affecting a sailing ship. तो जहाज को धक्का देने लगा एक साइड. तो pilots could not control it. तो उन्होंने कुछ ज़्यादा स्पीड दे दिया. तो ज़्यादा, it was too much speed for that canal, and the ship diverted. They could not control the swing, and the ship got stuck and went aground. and it blocked all the southbound traffic and the northbound traffic, and for 1 week there was no ship flying up and down the Suez Canal. It was a real disaster. बाद में जहाज को निकाल दिया.
Yeah, I know that. What I'm saying is that how was it allowed to happen like this?
It is human error. Pilots are also human, you know, they made a mistake. Number one, they were going too fast. Number two, they did not take the strength of the wind into account. They should not have made the operation. They could have cancelled the operation for that day, for a ship of that size. So it was human error.
But they blamed the owners later. They said the owners are at fault.
They will not take the blame. Suez Canal Authority nobody likes to take the blame on themselves. Nobody said, sorry sir, my fault. Nobody will say.
And how do you know what is in the future? This can happen. This is a scary
Of course it can happen. It can happen, and the law protects the pilots. The law protects pilots. Pilots are mere advisors to the ships. Pilots, the pehla jo pakda jata hai is the master, because he is the representative of the owner. And finally, financial claims are made on the owner. That is the law. So can't be. Pilots are exempted from this.
Any other questions? Yes, over here first.
Are pirate attacks still a thing?
Pirate attacks were very, very regular a few years back, but they have reduced. They have not, but they are still there, especially around that Gulf of Aden, Africa,
And Nigeria.
and Nigeria. Yes, you are right. They are still the thing.
Incidentally, 2 days ago, a ship got hijacked in Yemen. Is the news देखा?
Yes.
So there are rebels in Yemen who have claimed to hijack Indian ship under Israeli flag. I don't know what it means, but it's supposed to be an Israeli ship. It's Israeli flag.
They are
But
revenge against Israel.
yeah, it's a revenge against Israel. So उन्होंने ship को hijack कर दिया और अपने कब्जे में कर लिया. Indian crew है वहाँ पे. अब now government will negotiate and get them out.
So the answer is yes. Still very much so. Unfortunately.
Smita.
So when it comes to real life disasters, there is a lot that is hidden beneath the surface and becomes evident to the public eye. So while writing this book, what was your research process like and how much time did it take?
It took me about 8-9 months. Not that long as one might think, because the information is all out there. The research process was mainly to dig out all the case studies of every incident and all kinds of news articles, documentaries, news clips, etc., whatever I could find. And then I had to condense them to a reasonable size, maybe 3,000 words, 3,500 words. And then, most important, I had to put my own spin to it. Otherwise, why am I writing this book? I had to write how it could have been avoided. So that part is mainly mine. But say 30,000 words or 40,000 words that I had collected per case, I had to condense, I had to sort out. So it's all there on the internet. I didn't go to any library itself, if that's what you're asking. Where are the libraries? Libraries are band ho gaye.
You say it took 9-10 months only for the research of the book.
7-8 months.
Any other question? Okay, before we end the show, I have a surprise. And
I hate surprises.
yes, but I was just talking to you. I know your love for music,
Yeah.
and I have a difficult request. Would you like to sing a song for us?
Sing a song.
Yeah, anything. Or name a song, rather. गुनगुना दीजिए हमारे लिए, if you can.
Something based on a ship. Or river or
Or
sea
something you would sing on a ship.
or water.
क्या हुआ कैसे हुआ कब हुआ क्यों हुआ जब हुआ कब हुआ ओ छोड़ो ये न सोचो ये क्या हुआ.
On that note, this show, thank you for singing the song and wonderful